Today we're going to replace the fuel filter on a Ford Focus 2004 model. First thing we have to do is go to the fuse box and remove the electronic fuel fuse, which is a 15 amp. And to get the location of that, go to your manual, page 133 for the 2004 should do it. Once we do that, now we're going to drive the ignition so that we can depressurize the fuel system. Okay, we're going to turn on the ignition and we're just going to let the system run out of fuel. And then we're going to try it again. Now the fuel system should be depressurized and it should be safe to work on the fuel filter. One more precaution we're going to take is we're going to remove the negative terminal so that there is no electricity and no chance of sparking, since we are going to be opening up a fuel line. Here's a shot of the new replacement filter. I've drawn arrows to indicate the flow, because if you install it backwards it will not work. Using a hydraulic jack and jack stands, we assure that this vehicle will not come down on you once you are underneath. This will be your view. The fuel filter will be buried in the back. It's held in place by a fuel filter bracket which is bolted to the bottom of the car, which is hidden. There's also a brake line that will need to be nudged out of the way and a flex fuel line which will have to be removed. In this particular model, the fuel filter is held in place with clips. All you have to do is press the ends of the clips together, push through, and that should allow the flex fuel line to disengage from one end of the fuel filter. You'll do the same thing to the hard line that's feeding the opposite end of the fuel filter. That's easier said than done in this car. Once you get those clips free, or if you manage to break them and get them free, you'll still have to deal with removing the bracket bolt, which is hidden behind the fuel filter. It is accessible. I believe it's a 7mm socket wrench that'll get that out for you. And once you've gotten that free, all you really have to do is reverse the procedure to get everything back in. In trying to remove the clip from the left side of the fuel filter, which is a hard line coming in, we ended up breaking the clip because it was just, we could not access the pins from the way it was positioned. That'll cost you around $6 to $9 depending on your Ford dealer. Here is a picture of the part in its own little package with the parts number. It may be wise to pick up at least one of these before attempting this job, because the clips that came with the filter were the wrong one. And when you go to any of the local auto parts stores, they will sell you the wrong clip. For some reason, it's a special clip that it seems only the Ford dealer carries. This is part of the fuel system hose that we took out. Originally, it attached in this fashion, and the reason we had to remove it was so that we gained some access to the filter, so that we could work on releasing the connector at the back end, which is very, very tight in this particular model. The trick to releasing this hose is there are two connectors on one end and then the rounded part at the back side. You have to press out on those connectors, which will then free it up to slide out, enabling this to slide off the filter. The hard part is getting to those two little pins when they're facing the wrong way, which is the case in this car, which is why it's so difficult to remove the second set. I just want to show you the two lines, how they look once the filter is removed. This one in the back is the line that comes from the fuel pump. This one here in the front is the one that feeds the engine. Up in there next to that big hole is the mounting bolt for the bracket, and we're going to reinsert everything in there and get it all to fit together. This is the Ford installed filter. We took a number 8 wrench to get that out from underneath the body. This is the part that was connected to the hose that I showed you a little bit earlier. That was easy. Hard part was getting to here because there's just no room to work to remove the clips, and in the end we ended up busting up the clips. So we'll have to get a replacement. So if you manage to get the darn thing out, you'll need a number 7 to break it free from the bracket. So we've loosened the bolts, removed the old standard filter, take the new one, drop it right in. It has a stop, so there's no guessing. Just make sure you don't try putting it in the other direction. In this case, the bracket will prevent you because it is one direction for the flow. Again, we tighten this with our metric socket. Nice and snug. And now we go to mount it back in underneath the car. We're now going to install the filter, take the end cap off of it, and try to work it back into the very small compartment that it goes in. And it should slide into that opening. Then you put a locking pin into it, and that should keep it from coming out when a unit pressurizes. Now we're going to try to attach the hose, the lower hose. We'll attach it to the fuel line. Make sure it gets now it's locked in, and all we have to do is connect here, remove the cap, slide it on, and now we're going to secure it with the mounting bolt on the bracket and put this brake line back in place on these 2 clips, and we'll be done. We'll be able to test it. This is what the unit looks like installed. Here's the brand new unit. Here's that piece of tubing that we took out. We're going to put a clip in here to seal it. There's one here, and then there's another clip at the back end of this fuel filter. And here's the bracket which attaches to the back. Fuel tank, floorboard, lots of stuff that gets in the way and makes what should have been a really easy job much harder.